Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. I hope you've all had a fantastic Christmas. Look, I've had a great one. I probably look a little bit rough this morning, but it's a big day for Manchester United because we've got Aston Villa tonight, of course, but there's also a lot to talk about. Obviously, we had that Christmas Eve announcement. I mean, funny thing is, we've got a bit of a split fan base at the moment. I mean, I was on Twitter yesterday, I had a little bit drunk, I was playing, living room football and all that sort of stuff, having a great day of what life should always be about at Christmas, enjoying the time off with friends, family, etc. Some people are not like that. They'd rather attack people on Twitter, even on the day of Santa's birthday. But look, what I find difficult, and look, we heard yesterday that that John Murtough will be replaced in the Sir Jim Ratcliffe footballing regime. I think that was always to be expected. Ten Hag also press conference notes came out talking about Anthony Martial. So lots to get into on this morning show, but remember, it is still Boxing Day, it is still a bank holiday, so we're not going to have a massive long show this morning. We've got the road trip and then we've got the Villa watch along tonight, which I'm looking forward to. But I feel that the first thing I want to say is that I'm a little bit confused, and maybe people can get in the comments here. I'm a little bit confused as to what the division in the fan base is all about again here. Ultimately, we are meant to be united behind one common goal, which is Manchester United getting back to the top of football in England and in Europe, which funnily enough was part of the statement that Sir Jim Ratcliffe put out on Christmas Eve. It feels to me that you are being targeted, attacked and abused because you're not, if you're like me, sceptical. There are hypocrites in our fan base who are, just quite literally attacking people for calling out this deal as not being the deal that we wanted and being a bit concerned about it, which I find hilarious, but it's not funny. I find it confusing, I find it hypocritical, and I would love people who feel this way to get into the chat and explain it, because the one thing I don't, and I'm not interested in doing, is arguing with United fans about the future of our football club when the people that have changed their opinion, in my mind, confuse me. For the last year, since the Glazers put the club up for sale, it was full sale, Glazers out. And now anybody who stands by that is now an enemy of the football club and needs to be got rid of. So we're the Glazers out now, apparently. Which, let me just tell you the principles of this deal before people start feeding you complete and utter made-up nonsense like they did before. When it was announced a few weeks ago that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was buying 25%, rumours came out that there would be a pathway to full ownership and the Glazers would be gone by 2026. We've now had the official line come out. So Jim Ratcliffe will buy 25% of the club, the Glazers will retain the majority ownership as a collective, and that is it. There is no definitive pathway to full ownership for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and there may never will be one. But you've got people going, yeah, but they wouldn't announce that, Mark, because if you announce that, he'd have to buy it all because of the New York Stock Exchange. Well, I'm sorry, this is Manchester United. We've been an absolute joke for a very long time, and we're now expected. I mean, it is pantomime season, so maybe it's let's pretend. We're now meant to sit here and go, yeah, secretly there is a pathway to full ownership. And I would say, explain to me why the Glazers would have a secret deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe to let him buy all the club in 2 or 3 years' time. Why would they do that? What is the point? The value of this football club potentially goes up with a change in football ownership. Why would the Glazers agree a deal now? Why would there be any obligation for them to do it? What people don't want to accept is that the Glazers are in charge of this club. What people don't want to accept is that the Glazers have done this deal to the best of their situation. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a brilliant businessman, read up about him. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is ambitious with Manchester United and wants to take us back to the top. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe does not own all of the football club and does not have a pathway to do that. So anybody who's pretending or hoping that that's the case, show us the evidence. You won't be able to do it. So I'm sceptical. But I don't see what the division in the fan base is around people who are sceptical. It's almost like the people who were chanting full sale and Glazers out are now Glazers in because they own the football club. We're going to go down a very interesting path. The change in football ownership will have a massive impact on our daily consumption of Manchester United. Talking about managers, signings, sackings, recruitment, youth development, contracts will fall on the shoulders of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and not the Glazers. So that will change the way we view Manchester United. And in many ways, I understand the subconscious that, well, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's basically running things because he's running the football side. He's running the football side. Manchester United's a lot more than that. And from the Glazers' point of view, I think they've won. I've not heard enough people say this. I think the Glazers have won. What the Glazers have done is they've got somebody to come in and bail them out. They couldn't afford to run Manchester United anymore. That's why they looked for investment or sale. And they've took investment from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. What they can do now is remove themselves from the daily criticism and running of Manchester United Football Club side and pass that on to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And basically what they get in return is a load of money and some investment, which they couldn't afford. And I've never wanted to put money in. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe is now going to put some money into the club. The Glazers will take money out of the club for that 25% or 12.5% of what they've got. They get a load of money. They get to keep the majority of the football club, and somebody else takes the heat off them and runs the football club. Effectively, what the Glazers have done is they've replaced Richard Arnold with somebody that's given them a bit of money and lets Sir Jim Ratcliffe run the footballing side of things. And that's just where we are. And there's nothing more to add to that other than you'll get a pile-on, yet again, of somebody taking a clip from this out of context and somehow twisting the fact that if you're like me, dubious, sceptical and concerned about why the Glazers are going to still be here for a very long time, you're suddenly an enemy of the football club now. And I look at the alternative and I go, well, even if Sir Jim comes in and makes Man United a top 4 club, what then? What happens then? Where's the investment to take Manchester United to the top? Where's the debt still here? The stadium still needs investment. Man City, Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal still exist. What is the pathway to success that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to have to tread? Because I do believe that the CEO change will make a big difference. I do believe that the director of football will make a big difference. But then I'm like, we can only do so much. Brighton have got very good CEOs and very good directors of football, but they're not fighting for top 4 every year. And people will say, well, we're Manchester United, but we're also Manchester United in a lot of debt. We're also Manchester United with not a lot of movement around financial fair play. We also don't have the funds of a Man City or a Newcastle or a PSG, etc. So the pathway to success, even if you want to get excited about this, the pathway to it, I don't know what... I'd love to know what people get in the comments. I'd love to know what people in the comments have got to say about what you think is achievable. Because I don't know whether fighting for 4th every season is what the limit of Sir Jim can do with a change in the footballing side. I don't know whether that's a bit, optimistic. And if people think, well, yeah, we can fight for titles again, I'd love to know the pathway to that. Because unless you've got, I think, over £500 million to spend on players, maybe another couple of $100 million to write people's contracts off, I don't know. I know, but what we have found out since Christmas Eve, because it was very hectic, is the pathway to the next few months. And I do agree with this. So apparently Sir David Brailsford is going to undertake an immediate strategic review of Manchester United. This will be done not in time for the January transfer window, of course, but this will be done over the next few months with an eye on the summer. I think this will include the, bringing in of Blanc as the CEO. I think Paul Mitchell will come in as we always said he would. And I think they'll be assessing structure around how the club's run in the footballing side of things. They'll be obviously assessing the squad and Ten Hag as well. And I think all those things are clever. Fabrizio Romano has said that Manchester United will still be looking at certain things in the January transfer window, whether it be a centre-back if one's available and any bargains around the front line, etc. So I don't really think we're going to start to see any major change until we get to the summer. And in a way, that's sort of part of what I'm saying here. There is no quick fix. And that's why I wouldn't sack Ten Hag, because I think if you're going to do a strategic review, even if you know Ten Hag's not your guy, you want him part of that strategic review. Otherwise, there's a big grey area. If I'm strategically reviewing the last 6 months, 18 months of Manchester United, then I need the manager of that time to talk to. So I expect Ten Hag to stay. And I think that's the right thing. But look, it's a massively interesting time for Manchester United, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot more information. I agree with Gary Neville that the release of that story on Christmas Eve at 4 o'clock was disgusting. There'll be people who work at Manchester United who are being drafted in to cover that news on Christmas Eve. And that's just typical of the Glazer regime. Ultimately, this is about what's best for them. And that's what... I suppose that's the line. Look, I don't not think Sir Jim Ratcliffe will improve things at Manchester United. I think he will. But what I've always got to say is, comparable to a full sale and a clearance of the debt, that's what I wanted. That's what I expected. Clearance of the debt and a full sale would have been completely different Manchester United. Is any of those positives achievable under a 25% ownership of Sir Jim Ratcliffe with the Glazers owning the club? And I'm dubious about that. I'm sorry. And I can only explain my point of view. I think that there is some interesting times ahead with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and I think that the footballing side can improve. It's almost not a criticism of Sir Jim Ratcliffe because he doesn't own the football club. The Glazers do. And I'm concerned about how long that's going to go on for and why. And you know, why can you not ask that question? And then the second thing for me is, if we'd had a full sale and we'd cleared the debt, you look at that pathway and then you look at this pathway and you're looking for similarities. Because if Sir Jim Ratcliffe with 25% can achieve what a full sale and a clearance of the debt would have done, then what are we moaning about? But for me, I don't see how you can compare the two. And I think you needed to clear the debt and get a full sale to be successful in modern football. So I'm very intrigued what's going to happen. But forgetting Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I'll go back to what I said at the start. There seems to be a lot of arguing. And it's almost like this top redism is coming back again. I've seen these top reds on Twitter. And what is a top red? It's somebody who thinks they're a better fan than somebody else, which is something we don't do. And this top redism is to criticise people like myself who are dubious and concerned about the Glazers staying. And yet they don't seem to have any information that, you know, I'm always open to why I might get it wrong, but they don't seem to have any information about it other than they just want to get behind this Sir Jim Ratcliffe deal, which, well, the PR and positivity is going to be there for people to do that. But long term, can Manchester United compete with Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle, with the Glazers in control and Sir Jim Ratcliffe having 25%? And where's the money going to come from to do it? These are questions that you should be scrutinising and asking. I know it's Christmas, but at some point you've got to wake up. It's not Christmas anymore. How is this achievable? Ask the questions. It's as simple as that. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Lots for you to get your comments in below. Really want to get, you know, we've had Christmas now. I really want people to get the comments in and tell me how you're feeling about this deal. Why you're positive, why you're sat on the fence, why you're negative. So people can understand where people are coming from. Because at the moment, I don't like the fact that there's a division in the fan base around a deal that, you know, is what it is. It's 25% Sir Jim. The rest of it's the Glazers. There's no pathway for them to go. So what is the future and how can you be successful? Because we haven't been successful under the Glazers. We're back, of course, for the Aston Villa watch along. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe. And I'll speak to you all in a bit.